Let's do it.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ever Adaptive Podcast. I am your host, Sarah Bodson, here with my beautiful co-host, Becky. And we have a third beautiful face on today, my lovely friend, Heather. Thank you so much for
Woo!
joining us.
So
Um,
happy to be here.
Heather is a woman that does everything.
All the things.
You are a bodybuilder, you are a mother, you are a coach. Let's just kind of hear your elevator spiel and just kind of roll from there.
Yeah. So obviously my name is Heather. I live in the Northwest. I've been bodybuilding, gosh, for like 20 years, it seems like now. And I was a collegiate athlete. I played softball at University of Oregon. So I was kind of always an athlete, always very driven and competitive. And I kind of panicked when I was finishing up college and not knowing like what my next move was in terms of sports.
Ooh, yeah.
And I was like, I've been coached all my life. What am I going to do with myself? But then it just kind of fell into place. I was approached by 3 male bodybuilders at a gym when I was training, and they're like, "Oh, your legs! Oh my gosh!" And I was like, I didn't know what was going on. They're like, "You have to compete. You have to bodybuild," and I just fell in love with it after that. And then I ended up getting married, having 2 kids. It was not a great marriage. It was a bad situation. So I
Mhm.
left that, and the kids were just toddlers, and I've been a single parent, just 365, 24/7 for their entire life, and I've been competing. I was a
Yes.
heavyweight female
Yes.
bodybuilder.
Let's get into this. Let's get into
I
this because
know.
it's so awesome.
It's crazy. And I'm keep in mind, ladies, I'm only 5'2.5". Like I'm a
Oh my
shorty. And
gosh.
yeah, I have a very short. And I was like at my heaviest, like almost 190. So I had
Holy
some,
shit.
I
You have a
know.
lot of
So
muscle in you though.
oh man, it was so much that because I'm so short, trying to keep my waist and the X frame and everything, that was that was a lot. And it
What
was
made
just,
you go for women's bodybuilding? Like,
well, yeah, at the time there wasn't anything else. All the other
okay.
divisions hadn't come into play yet. But I also was always kind of a refrigerator. Like I always had a lot of muscle. I was, powerlifting in college,
Okay.
and I'm kind of a hobbit. Like I'm very short, and so I just kind of grew outward, and so it was
Ran
just
with
kind of the
it.
logical move. Yeah, but as soon as I started seeing, especially wellness, um, I never really liked carrying that much muscle to begin with,
Yes.
so it was very appealing to me.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
go into that, your decision to downsize from
Mhm.
women's bodybuilding to wellness, which by the way, guys, if you haven't seen her transformation, it's fucking insane. It is, you
Thank
look
you.
so good. You look
Thank
so
you
good. So
so
you are
much.
competing this year, right?
Yeah. Yeah, in July. Yeah. Well,
Yes.
and I thank you so much. I think people that are in the industry appreciate it a little bit more
Yeah.
because they understand, first of all, how hard it is to put on the lean mass. But
Mhm.
then for me, I was very nervous, like downsizing. I'm like, dude, this could go epically wrong. Like I could just look weird, like my symmetry could be off. I could just look kind of like a normie. I call normal people normies. Um, and just be soft and small. Like I was so terrified
Yeah.
because people don't do
Right.
it. Like it's not something you see. But yeah, no, I've always done posing, so I've played with the posing and everything when I'm working with my clients. And I was like, I just love
Mhm.
this. And I'd be like in my heels and I'm just kind of feeling myself. And then that's when you have to imagine like a 185-pound heavyweight bodybuilder just feeling herself in her heels. I'm like, just yes. And so I was like, you know, why not? I love a challenge. I wanted something new. And I also really was kind of wanting to go that route just lifestyle wise. So, yeah, I just made the decision to do it. And that was like a year and a half ago. So it's been like a year and a half.
Yeah. What, Heather?
Okay, so I'm assuming what she was talking about is like I made that lifestyle shift. And yes, it was predominantly because I wanted to do something that was the most healthy for me as
Yeah.
well. And even though I feel as though I was navigating the female bodybuilding arena really well, I
Mhm.
also felt that long term, um, that wasn't aesthetically what I wanted to look like, but it
Okay.
was also very uncomfortable for
Yeah.
somebody as short as me to carry that much mass. And yeah, I was just ready to throw some heels on and strut my stuff. Like I was ready for it. Yeah. you know?
It's such a different, like, demeanor
Yeah,
too, so it's
totally, totally. It's the sass, it's the everything.
yeah.
So, yeah, and I think I kind of had my little alter ego when I was like, whenever I'd be posing with my clients, I was just like, "Oh my goodness." And I was like, "I'm ready." I'm like, "I'm so ready for this. Let's do it."
I
So,
love it.
yeah, but I got a lot of people they're like, "No." I had a
Yeah.
lot of people that were kind of against it and, like, didn't see it, didn't have the vision. So I went up against a lot of naysayers with that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How was that mentally on you?
Um, I think it's funny because when we're athletes and everything like that, we hear a lot of criticism,
Yeah.
and so I was kind of used to it, but also being in the female bodybuilding arena, I also navigated a lot of people always wanting to kind of critique and give their 2 cents.
Right.
So I got used to it where I was like, no, I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate that. That's great. However, I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. And it was
Yeah.
also kind of a challenge where I was like, I can't wait to show them what I can do. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Becky's back and we can see her.
we
Can
can
you
see.
hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank God. No, I was just highlighting like it's so important that we remember, especially in this sport, like we live in our bodies
Yep.
24/7, 365. Like,
Yep.
and if you are downsizing for your lifestyle,
Mhm.
I think that's fucking badass.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. No, that was it. It was really, you think about it, and obviously off seasons are uncomfortable enough a lot of times,
Oh, yeah.
for women, because we're trying to obviously put on lean mass, we're trying to reshape, recomp. And so I was looking forward to like this 4-week period of time out of the year where I was lean and I felt really good. And then other than that, I was just like, I just feel like a water buffalo.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's like it it sucks. Like it sucks to live like that. And we're
Yeah,
crazy for doing the things that we
crazy.
do.
Yeah, we are very crazy.
But obviously this fits your longer term
Mhm.
goal way
Yeah,
better.
way better. Well, and it's just, I'm having a great time, and I think that we speak about this all the time, but it's like, what is life if it's not evolution, right? If
Mhm.
it's not like, what's next? Like,
Yep.
what are we gonna do? There's no finish line. It's just reconfiguring our goals. So this one, I was like, I'm gonna go for a shocker. I'm gonna go for a big one this time. So, you know, let's mix it up. So that's
Yeah,
kind of where I was at.
that's
Yeah.
Love
amazing.
that.
And just like I always admire your mindset because this is, I mean, the three of us we're all very in tune, right? We
Yeah.
are very self-aware. And there's a lot of people who think that they're self-aware, right? And then there's the people that like live it and they're doing the work day in and
Mhm.
day out to always evolve and,
Totally.
adapt and things like
Mhm.
that. And that's why that's such a big thing too. Becky and I, especially on here, it's the Ever Adaptive podcast. Like
Yeah.
we're always
Yes,
adapting no matter
yes,
what, like whatever is thrown your way, like you gotta adapt, you gotta pivot, you gotta move
Mhm.
forward
completely.
and always chasing that next
Mhm.
thing, no matter what roadblocks are thrown your way.
No, completely. And it's like, really, isn't that what life is? It's like if we have one purpose, it's to become the greatest version of
Yes.
ourselves. And people talk about it, but it's the people that you just see doing the work, like you said, and you just see in and day out. They're no excuses. It's just, you know what? Wow, they're getting it done. And that's just kind of what and also obviously being coaches, we want to practice what we preach. I think
Yes.
that sets a tone.
It's
That's a
huge.
respect thing for our clients. They're like, do you see my coach? Do you see what she's doing or he?
Yeah.
it's a big thing,
Yeah.
so I like
Yeah.
to make them proud too.
Oh, for sure. Lead by example. I mean, that's what
Yep,
we have to do.
absolutely.
It's you lose credibility when you're just pointing fingers and not doing the actual work. And
No,
you lose a
and
lot of respect from people in that way too. And
yeah,
it's like if you're not walking that walk day in and day
mhm,
out and practicing what you preach, what good is your word?
exactly,
Exactly.
exactly. I stand by that, and it's something that I feel like we kind of lead the charge. We got to be in the trenches with them, and for them to know that we're doing the same thing they're doing. We're going through the same stuff they're going through. It connects them to us way more, in my opinion.
For
So,
sure.
mhm,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Go
yeah,
into just kind of everything you do as a whole. So we know you're a coach, posing coach,
yeah,
everything like that, just kind of all along the lines,
yeah.
mother.
Yeah, so okay, starting from I also have a full-time career as well. So I'm
Okay.
yeah. You're like, "Oh, and then there's that."
Does it all.
Didn't know about
You
that.
know, I raise ponies. No, I'm just kidding. I was
Oh, I was like, oh my God, really?
You're like, "Yes, I will someday." So I'm in medical device, and then I do that full time. Obviously, a full time mom. I also do coaching. I have a ton of competitors, and then lifestyle clients as well. I do posing, and I I'm just kind of all over the place. I do all the things.
I love it. I feel like we're
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're all in that same boat.
I love it. I love to keep myself busy with it. So yeah,
I love
I'm
that.
thank
Can you go into more? Because you do have two kids and you're a single mom, and you said
yeah.
that, I mean, 365,
Mhm.
there's no break for you. So when you started competing and they were
Yeah.
younger, because I'm assuming
Mhm.
now, how old are they now?
So I have 15 and 18-year-old. So they're
Okay,
older. Yeah. Yeah.
they're
I
older,
was
but
like,
they still need you.
yeah, they still need, of course they still need me.
Yeah,
Of course. They don't want to tell me that, but of course they do.
they do. We know.
Yeah.
But when they were younger and they were like, their every need relied on you and solely you, how
Yeah.
did you handle competing, working, and motherhood showing up well?
So that was probably the era in my life I didn't sleep much, I would say. So because that required, and I was bodybuilding from the time my daughter was 6 months old. So I was
Oh,
competing when she was like 6 months old. So
Wow.
that's all they know is me being a bodybuilder. So I would get up 5 a.m., sometimes 4:30, depending on, my schedule. I would do my cardio. Sometimes I'd have to train. I had kind of a little home setup if that was the case. Then I would get them ready, get myself ready, take them to daycare, go to my full time job, pick them up, and then they would come to kids club at the gym with me. I'd do my training and go home, do all the mom stuff, all the activities, and then get them ready for bed and probably do my last cardio. That was generally how it worked. And food prep, all the normal stuff. And that's kind of for me, I think that we become so regimented on our time management and it's awesome. Like, so I don't know any different. So it's kind of like when I have free time, I really don't know what to do with myself.
isn't that for real? Like,
It
that is
is.
so true.
Yeah. And I'm like, what could I squeeze in here? Like, I'm sure I could learn something new.
Yeah.
I'll learn German in my free time.
Please
So,
do.
yeah, I'm going to go get
I
Rosetta
feel
Stone.
like I feel like as bodybuilders, that's just how we that like that regimented, like that's where we thrive,
Yeah.
it's like where everything, it's like every single minute of every day is just like filled up. And it's really
Yeah.
difficult for me right now because I'm actually like I pulled out of prep. I'm working with a new coach and
Yes.
I'm dealing with I'm kind of going through what Beckie was with like a gut protocol and like starting all of that. And I'm like, I have to like scale back and like do less. And
Totally.
I'm going stir crazy. I'm like,
That
oh,
is that is the death of us. When they're like, "So we're gonna have you tone it down." You're like, "Mm-mm,
uh-huh.
no, sir. No. Okay, it's time for you to learn German then. You're it's your turn. It's your
It
turn.
is my
You've got
turn.
time. You've got time for it now."
But no,
That's
I'm
the thing
learning
though.
too through like when we have to scale back that we need to, because so
Yep.
many of us, like, we have so many demons that we will just like and I just came off of therapy, so of course we're gonna talk about this, but
I
like
love it. I love it.
we
Yes.
like we're burying them down so much, and it's just like we just do, and
Mhm.
we just show up. And so like that scale back portion of our lives is what we really need to push us forward, I think.
Reflection. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's reflection. Well, and I think it's a reset. I think that's something, we have all of these pivotal life crisis moments that we go through. And I feel like that, I mean, whether it's health, whether it's relationships, whether it's something to do with family, they all present in a time frame where I think it's time for you to reset and it's
Yeah.
time for you to reflect. Because yeah, we will just keep punching through and muscling through life, and then something happens where it's like, well, guess what, you're mortal, and here are some things that you need to focus on. So
Yeah.
That's the fucking truth.
yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. No, dropping truth bombs left and right. But I'm just saying, because I've gone through a lot in my life. And for me, I think to stay humble and knowing that there's always going to be more, and just to properly care for yourself, mind, body, and spirit, to be ready for when those things happen.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what like I always say, because I feel like I put myself in situations of pressure to kind of like armor myself for like, well, shit's gonna pop up somewhere, and like at
Yeah.
some point, like I'm not gonna be caught, off guard.
Mhm.
Like
Totally.
I might not be able to be 100% prepared for this, but like
Mhm.
mentally I can handle this, right? And
Absolutely.
I think that that's so important to just constantly choose the harder route.
Mhm.
But then also it's such a weird like harmony of when to know what to do, right? When do you push? When do you pull back? And
Mhm.
usually it's like you said, like a life event, something big happening that's like that makes you sit and be like, okay, time to reflect and like actually figure out what is next. Like,
Oh, 100%. Well, and that's something that I think that, just like you said, kind of implementing hard things into your life, on purpose is so crucial, because it is kind of like carving out, the perfect version of yourself or the best version of yourself. You've got to kind of, go through that pressure, obviously the pearl type thing. So, but then even remaining humble and knowing that, guess what, it's still not going to be up to you, like when something comes at you. And so, yeah, I think that's just kind of the best philosophy, because most people want to run away, I feel like. And we have a lot of people that are hiding behind, whether it's creating a false image of what, because they're too afraid to face themselves. And I really feel like that's kind of a huge epidemic. Like people are just afraid of just facing their own demons, just like you said, Beckie. Just face them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Now,
agree. Go ahead, Becky. Sorry.
oh no, go ahead.
Go.
You
No,
go, you go.
I was just thinking, like, going back to you being a mom, because I really just want to like hone in on this, because I feel like
Yeah.
so many people will use it as an excuse
Mhm.
versus something that pushes them. So, what drove you when your kids were little to continue showing up in bodybuilding? Because you could have very easily, like, you started when you were married, and
Mhm.
you could have very easily, after that whole thing, just been like, okay, I'm done.
Mhm.
Um,
So that's a great question. That's something I talk to all of my female clients about when the topic of selfishness comes up, right? You're being selfish, right? But one thing that I feel like happens most often with moms is they lose their own identity. They only become mom, and they lose themselves. And because of that, and being only mom, then they lose sight of their health. They lose sight of their mental health. They lose sight of anything they love for just themselves. And in doing so, they become less. And so if you become less, you can't give your kids 100%. But also, my greatest thing for my kids, my daughter, both my children lift, and it wasn't my doing. I didn't push them. They wanted to do this, and they're both badasses. And my daughter told me one time, it was like a couple years ago, she said, Mom, don't ever stop being a bodybuilder because I don't want you normal. And,
Aw.
you know, and it's because I, and obviously I was always nervous that, because sometimes their friends are like, whoa, and everything like that. And I didn't want them to be put in a position where they were uncomfortable, but they've loved it. They've loved it and it's empowered them. And especially my daughter, she's like, I want to be so strong. And she's like 120 pounds repping out a plate for a bench press.
I love it.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you.
Aw.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like, I get so amped. So for me, it's the whole role model, and they always see that I'm pushing. I'm
Yeah.
never complacent in my life. And so neither of them are. And that makes a world of difference for me.
And that's amazing because you're setting that good example, but like it's all encompassing as like what bodybuilding teaches us. Like it's
Mhm.
just so much more than the gym, it's
So much.
building disciplines and confidence and health and like all of these different areas that can build people up for the next generation
Yeah.
so differently
Yeah.
than this like these soft people that just roll over and are victims, right? Where
It's terrible. Yeah. Go ahead.
and it's just I love that so much because Beckie lives it. Like Beckie's got 3 kids and like
Oh,
yeah.
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 So like
100%.
just I love talking to moms that
Mhm.
are in this so
Mhm.
heavily
Mhm.
because you figure out how to make it work, it's like just like Beckie said, like so many people use it as an excuse where Heather, I loved your take on it, where it's like, no, I want to like this is all they know and I didn't
Mhm.
push this on them, but they're interested because it's what they see and it's what they
Mhm.
look up to and it's what they're used to and that's what's normal to
Mhm.
them. It's this higher standard of what actually is normal, which is
Mhm.
great because we need to hire that standard.
Yeah, and that's kind of like my firm belief. Obviously, I've always encouraged them, whatever path they want in life, go for it, but do it all the way.
Yeah.
Like, don't slow
Love
down.
that.
It's like I commit to it, and that's something that I've really instilled in them. And for me, when it comes to all this stuff, and I think making different goals and showing them that this never stops in our life, no matter what age we're at, no matter what phase we are in life, this never stops.
I
Like I'll
love
be
that.
80 and I'm going to be a ninja. I'm like, it's like, why not?
A German speaking ninja.
A German speaking ninja that raises ponies. That's
Yes.
it.
Done.
Yes.
Goals.
Done.
No, I love that. And I love how you said that so many moms will think that they're being selfish if they keep up things for themselves and they end up in turn making them less than what they were supposed to be. So they're giving less to their kids. They're giving less than 100% to their kids. And that hits home for a lot of us because all we want to do is show up well. We just
Yeah.
want to be good moms.
Yeah. Then
And
you need to sharpen your sword. You need to be the best you. And you need to be like, so for instance, being a single mom, also, I'm the mom and dad. And I'm like, I've got to be kind of both sides of everything and kind of be able to maneuver. But also, zombie apocalypse comes. I need to like be able to throw them both over my shoulder and start running, whatever.
that's
I was
true.
like ready. I was ready for everything. So
And you
it's
have
kind
to
of,
be.
yeah, because I do see so many moms and parents just in general that are so deconditioned and overweight. And I'm like, what if something happened?
Yes.
What would you do? Like if you needed to run a mile with your child on your back, could you do it?
Yeah.
That is such a good, oh my gosh. I love that because people don't think about that. They think about the
No.
aesthetics. They think about, I want the abs. I want my body back after kids, which yes, valid. But can you save your kid's life if it comes down to it? If we're invaded,
Yeah.
like
It's
about
alien.
you though, because I'm like, I gotta have like this in check, this in check. Like,
Yeah,
can I
totally.
pick up my 14-year-old son and run with him?
Yeah.
We'll
Hell
see.
yeah. It'd be a ruck for sure, but like that's okay. But no, those are the things that I think about that could be morbid, but still I think valid. And especially so I was attacked at knife point, and when my daughter was only like 6 weeks old, and she was at my parents' house at the time, but that was the first thing that went through my head was I need to be able to defend not only myself now, but I need to be able to defend my baby. Like what does that mean? It means it's time to level up. And it's also, you need to be able to be prepared in any way necessary. So,
Yeah.
1000%.
yeah. So that's just, I think that that's where a big misconception is. And I think it's due to a lot of complacency and laziness because it's just excuses. Oh, I need to be just a mom. I need to focus on this. And, the number one thing I will tell every single woman that comes to me with that is you need to be the best you. Like you need to have your identity because that is going to translate over to your child. And you need to be the best physical specimen you can. You need to be able to be mentally strong for them because it will break down. Everything else will break down. If you are not physically disciplined, if you are not taking care of your body, this will break down. Everything will break down. You got to fortify. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like it really all starts in the mental and building that up, and then physically taking care of yourself, keeping on your mental, keeping on, like it's so disheartening when I see people that they can't do basic things.
No.
And it's like, how are you going to sustain this?
Yeah. No. Well, and what does that mean for you in 40 years?
Yeah.
I mean, what about your grandkids? What about, your retirement? What about all of this stuff? I mean, are you just going to roll over and take it now? I mean, it's kind of like what I see is probably one of the saddest things. It's like this life is supposed to be lived.
Yep.
So live it.
Yeah.
Don't sit on your couch and watch Netflix. Live it. So.
Yeah. So true.
For sure.
So not to change the subject, but I'm really curious of how your training looks now that you're downsizing.
So this was probably, yeah. So I do coach myself. And so that was something too. So I've always been really strict with my diet and everything like that. It kind of had to be, like, I'm an endomorph. So I do hold more body fat if I'm not careful. And so I've always been really strict on my diet, really good with cardio, but it was the training piece that was probably the most humbling for me when I approached that, because I don't think I realized how big of an ego I had when I was like, shit, like, because I had devoted so much time to progressing in those lifts and obviously reaching this level of strength and endurance. And so changing my split, I had always been doing for the most part 2 leg days, when I was doing female bodybuilding, but then I increased it to 3. And then I took out a full back day, took out a full chest day. I still do shoulders. I still do arms, but I really just sprinkle in some chest and back, and it's very lightweight or body weight movements. And that to me was like the biggest jolt, like where I was like, I just want to press some heavy ass weight. And I was like, nope. And it did take me, because I was also doing quite a bit of cardio in the beginning to really try to atrophy a little bit more upper body. So it probably took me a solid 4 or 5 months, I would say, of really scaling back on all of my upper body training, and especially my approach, because I went to way higher volume, a lot more tempo changes, isometric stuff like that for my upper body. So I was just activating, but not going into hypertrophy. So, yeah, I would say it was about 4 or 5 months before I really saw any sort of change. And I was like, is anything happening? Like, I would flare my lats. I'm like, oh, like they're still there. And so it took a long time. And, but I would say it really kind of kicked into gear after I'd been training and reprogramming probably within the first 8 months, 9 months, I was like really, really changing. So,
And
but
how much have you downsized?
so I was at like my heaviest, I was like 187
Yep.
and I'm 141.
Wow. In a
Wow.
year
Yeah.
and a half.
Yeah, year and a half. So, and obviously we know how body weight works. I was stuck at certain body weights, and I
Right.
had to kind of break past that plateau. But yeah, no, and I've really stabilized here, and I like the shape I have now, and so we're just gonna hold tight for a
Your
second.
shape is freaking incredible. It's such a cool angle because you don't hear of people, women
No.
downsizing, right?
No, never. Well, especially that dramatically. It's funny
Yeah.
because I have so many female bodybuilders now and so many women's physique competitors reaching out to me because it is so appealing to them. It's uncomfortable being that big.
Yeah.
And so when I think women, they kind of just almost give up and say, well, this is just what I'm going to be now because I'm already this big. And I'm like, no, that's one thing people need to remember. It's like you're limitless. You can do whatever you want. You can
Mhm.
pivot whenever you want to. It's going to be work, but you can pivot. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. I like, man, even in a bikini off season, I'm like, this sucks. Like I could not even imagine
Hate
being
it. Yeah. No, I cannot tell you guys. That's the reason I do the transformation posts because I don't think when you see it slowly happening, people don't really pay attention,
Yeah.
and then they see it side, they're like
That
I
picture you posted yesterday, I was like, holy shit. Like just
yeah.
incredible.
Well, thank you. And that's the thing too. I tell people it's not even just size, it's like my whole look. I
Yes.
looked
Yeah.
I looked very inflamed. I
Yep.
looked very puffy. My face was big, like all the things. And so it's like I feel healthy when I look
Yeah.
at
And
myself
you
now.
do like you can physically see it just in those pictures side by side that you look so much healthier.
Totally. Totally. And I
And
am.
like you're way leaner.
Yeah, and that's the weirdest thing too. I'm like, that's so stupid. Like because I was working so hard then, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
It is so crazy.
But you had to do what was best for your lifestyle, for your longevity, for your kids, all of those things to make it work. And that's the beauty of how bodybuilding is evolving, where they're bringing these new categories, and hopefully they stop now because we have plenty. But
Yes.
I know, I'm like, okay, like I don't know what else we can do. So
right.
yeah,
But like you have just like so flawlessly downsized into like just the most amazing wellness shape. Like it's so respectable. Like it's just I admire you, and
honestly, that means so much coming from you too. I like it's because sometimes I think I have a lot of body dysmorphia. I think we all do, but I'm like, like I still think of myself as big. And like that's something that I'm like, oh gosh, I'm gonna dwarf these girls. I'm gonna get up there and just be like, I'm gonna do a rear pose and she's gonna be like, my ass is like eating the crowd. So I'm like, that was
No,
visual.
I don't.
Oh, like the way you did it, and like it was just it like from afar watching, it's just like you just like landed the plane like so perfectly.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah,
so
no,
much.
seriously, like I can't wait to see you actually compete
Yeah.
and witness all of that, because I know you're gonna kill it, because you're not a pro, right?
No, no, I placed second 2 times at national shows. You have to place first for female bodybuilding.
Right.
And then I placed third and I placed fourth. So I've literally
You're right there.
I was right there. And that was a big push. And that's why a lot of people were like, no, you're already there. You're already a pro. Just do it. And I was just like, "Ah, I don't love it. I don't love
Yeah.
it. I don't
And
want it."
that's the biggest thing, right? Is like
Mhm.
you have to want it. You have to love it. You have
Yeah.
to be all in on it for you and no one else.
Completely. And
Because
that was
think about, I mean, like, yeah, if you would have gotten pro at that level, like, sure, you probably would have been really stoked about it, but would it have like fulfilled you?
well, and my thought process anyways was I was going to downsize. Like even if I went pro in female bodybuilding, I was still going to downsize. So at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm not waiting. I'm not going to continue to pursue this when I know that that's not where my heart is. And I fully tell all of my female client, all my clients, men, women, doesn't matter. Wherever you're at physically and aesthetically, and you may fit a category better just genetically, but that shouldn't determine what you do. It might take you longer to get to that goal, but you should still pursue it because that's where you're at. You might be able to compete in that division that you fit best for the time being, still pursue what you want
I
and
love
your
that.
vision. Yeah.
I love that because it, like, from the roots of it for all of us, right? It started because we loved bodybuilding. Like, we loved the gym and what it did for us. And it eventually turned into competing for all of us. And
Yeah.
if that heart and that purpose and that fulfillment isn't there, then like, what is it really for? If you're
No.
doing it for someone else or for, your coach to be like, well, physically you fit better in this category. And it's like, well, I don't want to fit in that category.
Yeah. No. And that's the feedback I was receiving all the time, is like, I was working with all these top coaches and they're like, no, you need to do this. This is where you fit. You have a great frame for this. And I was like, and that's great. And I appreciate your feedback. I mean, like that's kind of the attitude I started developing when I would receive those comments. I'd be like, I really appreciate your feedback and I appreciate the compliments that I would do well in this category. However, that's not my goal. And that's kind of the way I went about it. That's why whenever I talk to one of my clients, I'm like, what's your vision? Where do you see yourself? And show me a visual. Like, so they'll show me pictures or whatever. And I'm like, okay, that should determine the path we take. It might take us longer, but we'll get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's our job, is to lay out that roadmap to get to what their goal is. If we're leading them in a direction that they don't want to go in, they probably won't continue.
No. Well, and they'll be extremely unhappy in circumstances where they're having to put a lot of time and effort into something that they aren't truly in. That's something I see a lot with women. Well, anyone really, but it's like, if they're not really in it, they shouldn't do it. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Agreed. Beckie, do you have any other questions?
I had one and then I completely lost it.
It's fine. It's fine. You have 3 kids. I have 2. I get it.
It'll come back.
Yeah, it'll come back like 2 a.m.
Right. Exactly. No.
Heather, do you have anything else that you want to throw in?
I mean, really, I so appreciate you guys having me on. Like, this was something I was so excited about, and I love the podcast. You guys do phenomenal. And I love the journey. I'm going to be following both of you, as you know, with this, and it's just been such an honor to be on and be able to do this with you. So
thank you so much for coming on. I love your. What was that?
I got it.
Oh, Beckie, go.
Before we let you go, I heard rumors of prep in 2024. Is that true? Will we see you on stage soon, or
in July? So
July. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to do a local show, obviously, to qualify. And then my plan is to do USAs.
Perfect. All right. We'll be watching.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep you guys posted.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see. No, Heather, thank you so much for coming on. Like, I just, like, I admire you so much. I tell you this all the time.
Thank you so much. Oh, I honestly, like I told you too, it's like, this has been such an awesome thing to be on here. And I'm just overjoyed. And you guys are both just amazing. And Sarah, you already know, I'm like uber crush. You're awesome. I just love you. So it's going to be great. We can just, shoot each other compliments all the time.
Yeah, no, I mean,
constant hype. It's great.
Always. No, I love how unique your story is, and just, everything that you push through and the mindset that you carry through it all. Like, it's inspiring, and more people need to be enlightened in the way that you think, we think, things like that, and just creating a better path moving forward and for other people to watch. And hopefully adopt as well. So thank
I
you so much for coming on. I
Thank
love that we
you.
finally made this happen.
I know. We've had our Wi-Fi issues, all of us, but it's
I
fine.
know.
But it's fine. We figured it out.
Thank
Well, again, thank you ladies so much. This has been so awesome. And you two are just fabulous. So I can't
Right
thank
back
you
at
enough.
you.
Yeah.
we
Thank
love
you.
you. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Wait, before we go, Heather, really quick, where can we find you on Instagram? Plug yourself.
Yeah. So at Phoenix_Fire Munson is my Instagram. So feel free to come see me and everything. I'm the redhead. Can't miss me.
Can't miss
So,
her. She's
yeah,
amazing.
can't miss me. So yeah.
Perfect.
All right. Bye, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.